Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Be So Brewed. I'm here with Zimmy, Scott Zimmerman. Say what's up.
What's going on?
And as you know, I'm Dr. B, Double B, whatever y'all want to call me.
Dr. Double B.
I was about to say,
I like it.
Everybody's got nicknames for me. As you guys know, you're listening to like whatever, it's probably like the 343rd most popular podcast in the world right now. We're working our way up the list. We'll be there. We're kind of a big deal.
343rd. That's like top 2%, right?
God, I mean, yeah.
We're there.
With the amount of podcasts out there, we are there. We have something crazy like 50 likes right now. Our first YouTube video has 11 views. I mean, we are crushing it.
We are killing it.
For people who really love stats, we've already lost tons of people. They're like, what is this? Why are these guys just dropping stats in the beginning? So, for those of you who don't know, Don't Be So Brewed is a podcast where Scott and I just like to, share our opinions about stuff because we think, we have a little bit that we like to share. Nowadays, everybody wants to keep their opinions to themselves. We're going to talk about all that stuff that we're not supposed to.
All of it.
All right, Scott, what you got for us?
Man, got some interesting stuff from this week. So I was traveling out for a conference in Vegas. Yay, Las Vegas. And I got to tell you, man, riding on these airplanes just, it never ceases to amaze me. It's like wildly entertaining. Right from the get-go, just walking through the airport and looking at what people are wearing in the airport. Mm-hmm. My wife and I were walking through and out in Vegas, and there's this gal, and she's wearing these giant, bright blue rain boots. And I'm sitting there like, does she know something that I don't know? and I did better than the corn dog guy. Like I took a picture at least. Granted, it was from behind. I got proof. So we had that, and then you got the stretchy pants and the people that shouldn't be wearing them. Yeah. Sorry if you're one of them.
You don't have to look at just
and the stretchy
airport.
Pants and the ones that you're glad are wearing them. I mean that's a good one as well. But
right.
What I find most interesting, we like to fly Southwest a lot. I mean, it's obviously a local airline, and it's one that we really enjoy flying, mostly for the people. It's quite interesting. When you find a cheap flight, you get the salt of the earth on these flights, and I like to be there with them. And it never ceases to amaze me, right? A group, B group, everybody's kind of flooding in, and then it's the last group. So you're worried about two things. One, is there going to be room for my bag? And two, am I going to get stuck next to some stinky fat dude?
Yeah.
Right? So when I get on, I'm not just like looking for the seat. I'm just kind of monitoring body language and kind of messing with people, right? So you kind of like stop and pause, and you kind of like look over. You look at them, and you see the things people do, right? Like the legs spread out a little bit, or they're sitting there leaning over the armrest a little extra lean.
So I think it's funny that you do that because you have to realize the look of fear that I cause in most people when my big ass walks on an airplane, because they're like, oh God, who's got to sit next to that guy?
Dr. Daddy Longlegs coming through.
So
Watch out.
I love the perspective of that. If you're like, I got to figure this out. I'm like, every person looks at me and they're like, there goes my armrest. That's exactly what they see when they look at me. So I think that's pretty funny because I've had some like, you're the person sitting in the front row. You're 4 feet tall. Your feet can't even touch that wall that's in front of you.
Or you hit the exit row, right? And it's the 5'8" guy, and you're just looking at him there for a minute, and they're avoiding eye contact. He's just looking away, like doesn't want to.
And listen, I get it. I'm not, I don't have, some sort of privilege just because I'm tall. I just like to complain about it because it sucks. It's one of those things for me where I'm just like, damn. And then, I'm the person that they get for like, hey, you want to spend the extra so that you can get this nice comfy seat? And I'm like, I do. Majority of the time.
What's going to happen now? You're going to get on the plane. They're going to be like, you're the guy that's giving out the pillows. You got any pillows there, Dr. B?
Oh, my gosh. For those of you who don't know, we've got an ad running around. You need pillows. I'm your guy. I'm like a drug dealer for pillows that help you sleep better.
The witch doctor. Little pillows, crack your neck. Good as new. So what do you got?
All right.
What's interesting that happened to you this week?
Let me just roll. What's interesting that happened to me this week, man? A lot of stuff. Not to bring it on a down note, but I've had two people that I know recently that have died in car accidents. One of them was only 23 years old. The other guy was a dad of 9 kids. Ooh, and I went to school with him. So,
Well, he's got one. Okay, bad
Oh,
joke.
okay.
Bad joke.
Wow. Thanks, guys. Yes, we try to keep it light around here and don't, listen. If you're getting upset, then you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast. So we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Seriously. I mean, I don't know. I know
mean,
death's a serious topic. I try to find humor in as much as possible.
I was about to say that's kind of my default. And so that's one of those things where it was tough to hear, especially for my friend Doug that has the 9 kids because, we went to school together. Doug was a chiropractor. So, I hung out with Doug basically, 5 days a week for 3.5, 4 years. Mm-hmm. So you kind of know someone for, at least a little bit. So you kind of become this tight-knit group. You guys are like family. Like I'm still close to a lot of people that I went to school with. And so when you hear stuff like that, and it was just one of those situations, as far as I know right now, like literally it was just a head-on collision. He was driving his daughter. He didn't make it. Daughter's in ICU. So that was just one of those things. And we kind of hit on this last time of like, not letting that affect your day and stuff that comes along, especially as in running a business and everything like that. And to be honest, like that happened. I think I found out about that on Wednesday, and man, I just couldn't shake that for the rest of the day. So,
well, you're human. You're not supposed to shake that easily.
And I talked to my wife and kind of almost like you would like a debrief. And so we kind of debriefed and, I just told her, like, it's just really tough. And, like, for me, it puts stuff in perspective. Like, I'm very much the person that's always looking forward, and I have a hard time being where I am in the moment, and it's tough for me. And when stuff like that happens, it makes me hyper aware of, like, okay, when I'm spending time with my daughter, I'm spending time with my daughter, and I really cherish that because who the hell knows how long I'm going to get it and for how long and whatever that is. And so same with my wife. So when stuff like that.
And it's not just how long you're going to get it. It's how much she's going to get of you.
Exactly. Because for that, I'm like, oh my gosh, 9 kids, they just lost their dad. Like, what happens if my daughter loses me? Like, am I leaving, when I leave this, like, what's she going to think? There's just a lot of stuff that comes into your head when you start to think about that. And I get it. I'm 30, like, dude, you're young and all this stuff. And I'm not going to let it change the way I live my life necessarily, other than the fact that I'm just going to be more aware of being present in the moment whenever I'm with my family or whenever I'm hanging out with my friends, because whenever I tell a majority of my stories, like the stuff that we'll probably get into on these podcasts at some point, it's experiences that I had with my friends and family when we were doing something. It's the fact that our logo for this podcast has corn dogs in it, and if you watched our first episode, you know why. Like, there's a story within that that's going to permeate this whole thing. It's like, those are experiences. Those are fun. That's like the first podcast that we ever did. I just love that no matter what, this is always going to draw back to that. So for me, I mean, really, that's it. I didn't mean, honestly, to bring it down to that note.
Well, that is very sensitive. I mean, we'll talk about this again when you pop your first gray hair,
Oh, dude, I got plenty of those. What are you talking about?
We'll have a debriefing.
I got plenty of those. That runs in the genetics in my family. It comes in quick. I got plenty of those. I'm aware I've got, you can't really tell. So we'll just segue into something more fun here. So this is something I was talking to with a friend of mine, and a question came up, and I thought it was very interesting. And it was, what is something that you hate that, like, the vast majority love? They're just obsessed with it, and you can't stand it. Do you have something that comes to your mind that you're just like, yeah, for me, it's this? Because I've got one.
I think I do.
Okay.
And it's going to sound really crazy. I hate going to concerts.
What?
I hate going to concerts. I hate the crowds. Like, unless I could be right up front, like first 10 rows, I am, like, not interested whatsoever.
Right.
Like,
Jose over here, by the way, cannot believe this.
But you got to understand something, right? Here's the deal. Like, I invested heavy into my home media, home theater. Big projector screen. If I could sit at home, drink my cheap beer, or if I'm going to pay $6 for a beer,
yes,
it ain't going to be a BL or ML. You know what I mean? If I want to go to the bathroom, I want to go when I want to go and not have to wait for some other dude in front of me to go. And if I want to take a nap, I could take a nap. And when I'm done, I'm done. I don't got to deal with the traffic. I don't got to deal with the people. I don't got to deal with the craziness. I don't understand how folks could go in, pay hundreds of dollars, and not really be able to see the people that they are there to see.
So I can get down with what you're saying. I'm that for a majority of things. I mean, we talk about that with, I would love to go experience a Super Bowl probably once in my life.
If somebody else paid for it.
Yes, but other than that, why am I going to go? Because I can be at home in comfortable clothes, eating what I want, doing what I want, and when it's over, I can go to bed.
So I'm going to broaden this. It's not just concerts. It's sporting events.
Yeah,
it's anything
events.
where there's a crowd, and it's not like a
exactly
security issue. It's just like the traffic ruins it for me.
It's the whole thing.
You know, a $6 Bud Light ruins it for me. $8 hot dog ruins it for me.
Corn dog.
You know, I mean, it's just, and that's just me. Some people embrace it. You know, it stresses me out.
No, and I think it really just depends on, like, are you someone that wants to go for the experience? Like, me and my wife talk about that. We've been to concerts. It's not really a big draw for us now because it has to be worth it. So are there artists that we would go to a concert for? Yes. But I think I would agree with you on the standpoint of, like, why am I going to go just to experience that when I'm not really getting to experience it?
Yeah, like, I experience traffic for free every day. Sometimes I even pay for it when I'm on the tollway. I mean, age, is that what it is? It might be. I mean, I've been this way for a while. Mm-hmm. Now, what I do like, if it's a small, intimate setting, like we went to go see Bare Naked Ladies up in Oklahoma at some casino I'd never heard of that probably everyone else around here had, up in Tulsa. So you probably know which one it is. It's a big one.
Well, there's several. Oklahoma's crazy for that stuff.
It was a big one. But, I mean, we were up there. We were like third row back. It was really cool. We saw Bare Naked Ladies again out in, I think it was Carrollton or Garland. They had like a town center thing. We were like right up front, like literally up front against the front fence. We had the kids with us.
So it's not a live event. It's just...
No, it was live, but it was just kind of impromptu.
Your issue is not live events. It's too many people.
Like my experience is different than others. So like when I had my kids on my shoulders and they're waving to the band and the band's waving back, that was cool as hell. That was an experience that, like, the kids, like, they hear the song on the radio now and they're like, Dad, crank up 4 seconds. That song is awesome.
I love it. I've got a story that'll blow your minds just for the fact of my age.
You already told the corn dog story.
No, this is an even better one. Just because when it comes to music, like, that's me and my dad's big connection. So, like, I love stuff from the 70s, 80s, any
90s
of that stuff.
and today.
Yeah, I mean, if
Don't be so brewed.
Oh my gosh, yeah, on our basically radio station without being a radio station. So exactly the concert style that you're talking about, I've been to 3 times for one band. That band's name is Winger. Winger, by the way, is the T-shirt that the nerdy kid wore in Beavis and Butthead while they wore AC/DC and Metallica.
Yep.
The nerdy kid that they made fun of wore a Winger shirt, and everyone likes to make fun of them. But I love their music. I could literally sing tons of their songs to you, know the lyrics, all that stuff. And I've been to 3 of their concerts. And the last time I went with my dad on his birthday, I think it was, we got backstage passes to go back there and meet them. Got pictures with them, did the whole thing. They signed a bunch of stuff. Like, we did all that.
Did you have your Winger T-shirt on?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've got 3 of them from every concert I've gone to. Yep. I got 3. I think you want to talk about, like, concert T-shirts from when I went to. I think I've got a Rush.
All right, let's see the tattoo.
Oh, I don't have a tattoo.
Bring up the shirt. I
don't.
know it's there.
I don't. I've got tattoos, but they're not of that. But listen, that's one of those I love to say because people are like, Winger, half the people don't even know, and the ones that do are like, really, that band? I'm like, listen, dude, they could jam. I don't care what you say. And they're not my only one, but it's one of those, like, a lot of people probably right now have left our video. They're not listening to the podcast. They're looking up like, who the hell is Winger? And they're like, who's this Kip guy with really good teeth? Okay, so you picked concerts.
Yeah, what do you got?
The thing for me that I know just a lot of people love that I hate is the band U2.
Okay.
I just personally I think they're overrated. I kind of got frustrated with the whole thing that iTunes did where they forced their album into your music and they made you like download it. It was like, hey, by the way, here's this whole album of all this. Forced download.
You know what the kicker is? If you're a semi-old guy like me and you don't have like all your songs loaded on your iPod, that's the only thing that comes through. So you plug it in, you're not on the right thing, you're not getting your Spotify, and boom, U2. And I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I don't love them by any stretch. But
and it's not all their songs. It's just a majority.
Now I've got a friend, Kim Lumpkin. You know who you are.
Oh, Kim
hates the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
By the way, I brought that up. She came to the office the other day.
Did she? How'd it go?
I brought that up. I was like, hey, I heard that you really, really like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And then she goes, Zimmy.
She just can't stand the singer. I'm like, really? Like, Red Hot Chili Peppers, come on. But, I mean, I'm sure there's people right now that are shaking their fists at me like, U2, come on, man.
Right?
U2's the best.
See, I got the best of both worlds. I just don't go to concerts.
Yeah, I was about to say, Scott just
I'm like
self-selected out of all of that. He's like, nah, I'm out. I'm not doing any of that.
My music's like my television. If I don't like what I'm listening, I like to change the channel. I don't want to sit through it. You know what I mean?
Sure, I get it. That's the other one for me is like Nickelback is like the meme of the internet that gets crucified all the time. People are like, I hate Nickelback. I'm like, well, I grew up when Nickelback was popular. I don't love all their songs, and it's not a constantly circulated on my phone. I probably don't even have any on there. But I may get in a mood and I'm like, oh yeah, that song was like, I like it. So I know a lot of people like to make fun of Nickelback.
I got going on Green Day a couple of weeks ago.
There you go. See?
Just jamming out. I'm like, wow, this CD was released the same year my car was made. I'm like, this is awesome.
Only you would get into something like that. By the way, guys, I'm on my phone. Let's just mention this for a second. It's because my notes are on here. Don't get upset. We're just videoing this to put this on YouTube. I'm not like ignoring you. If you want me to like interact with you more, I will. We'll have Jose come out. He'll do a shot with you, like whatever we got to do. But I'm not on my phone like texting in the middle of this podcast. I'm over here making sure that we're moving along. All right. I just had to address that.
It is a podcast. People. Chill.
People who are listening on podcasts are like, what the hell is going on here?
What are they talking about the phone? How do people see these guys?
All right, man. So the next thing that I want to ask you about, so I saw this earlier. I was looking on Twitter for some stuff. A sealed version of the original Mario Brothers sold in auction.
That?
By the way, it was PSA graded a 9.4, so that's where you send it off.
Out of 10,
yeah.
Right. Still in the cellophane.
Yep, still in the cellophane. Apparently when they were doing the promotion for it and they were kind of sending it out to see, this was one of those models of that. It sold for $100,000 and $150. So $100,000, $150.
I believe it. A couple things strike my mind being of the Nintendo generation, right? That original version came with the system. So to find one that's like separate or sold separately, I think it's got to be incredibly rare.
And hasn't been opened.
The other thing is my generation is coming into midlife, right? So like where back in the day, midlife used to be going out and getting the Corvette or getting that classic car or whatever it might be. These video games have tremendous nostalgia around them. Like our parents' generation, it might have been comic books and baseball cards. And, I know I caught the tail end of that as it was kind of already hit the crest and turned over. Mm-hmm. But, I think it changes. Even like for me, I'm a car fanatic. I love cars. But it's not what it was. Kids aren't looking forward to driving anymore. Uber has kind of destroyed that for everybody.
Yeah, it's true. It's crazy. They don't even look forward to like turning 16 and getting their license. And all that
it used
stuff
to be
anymore.
Such a huge piece of our culture that's now gone. Yeah, you're right. They can't drive.
It's true.
Neither can most adults. They could barely. Well, what I kind of related to.
But not Scott Zimmerman, by the way. Last week rated himself an 11. Rate your driving 1 to 10. That was one of the questions. 11. Uh-huh.
I mean, you've got to be.
I also love that you reference like generations for this stuff because I was like,
well, it is.
I love like crossing over into this all the time, and I do. So the first I always played video games when I went over to my grandma's house. Well, the first one I ever played was Atari. So I played all that old school stuff, and then all of a sudden she had this Nintendo, and I was playing this, and I loved Mario Brothers.
See, now you're 30, about 30 years old, right?
30 years old, yeah.
That's how you know he came up from a poor, broken home, because when he was a kid, Atari had been already dead for about 8 years.
Yep.
When you started playing, and by the time you got the Nintendo, Super Nintendo was probably already.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then I had a Super Nintendo, and then the Sega Genesis.
Plus you were in Oklahoma.
Yep.
So stuff just got there late anyway, right?
Listen,
you were like the last to get internet out there. Is that what happened?
Watch yourself now. Watch yourself.
You didn't do the Commodore.
I didn't go back that far. I didn't.
So now we got to find out which Atari. Was it like a 2600 or was it the 800 XL like computer version of Atari?
No, it wasn't the computer version.
So it was the one with the joysticks?
Yeah. So it was the one that came like that. But I mean, it's funny that you talk about like picking up stuff like this. Like I think it was a couple years ago. My parents were like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I was like, "I would love to get an old Nintendo with these games on it." So they got me the old Nintendo with the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt crossover. Which, by the way, Duck Hunt sucks now because the TVs with the new style, they don't pick up the pixelated when you shoot the screen for Duck Hunt. The whole screen flashes and it won't pick it up. So it doesn't work. You have to have an old tube TV just to play it. I know, damn technology. But she got me like the Super Mario 1, 2, and 3, and I got that. Like, I had it at the office for a little while, and then my wife was like, "Hey, you need to not have this out here." And I was like, I just finally removed it.
This is not very professional of you, Dr. Double B Brown.
Listen, everybody knows I keep it real in my office. This is just how I am. I got beer for my patients. We got all kinds of stuff in my office for that. But I was gonna ask you what your favorite off of that question. I was gonna ask you what your favorite video game was as a kid. Like, is there one that you go back to and you're like, you can remember that, and you're like, yeah, dude.
Contra,
nice.
I mean, that was like the first hidden code video game, right? Left, right, A, B, A, B. Mm-hmm. Me and my brother used to play it all the time. But there were there were tons. I mean, but Nintendo, again, was definitely what we came up on. You know, from Super Mario all the way up when Mario got his raccoon tail and Mario 3.
Everybody skips Mario 2, by the way.
Contra.
Mario
How about you?
2.
What was yours?
Man, there's so many as you were saying that. The funny thing that came to me is in my generation as I was growing up, they started coming out with the...
Look at Brandon making the generational references.
See,
Look at this.
In my generation, when we grew up, we had the little red, blue, whatever the hell you call those things, my brother-in-law would know, that hooks into the TV, and you had one joystick, but it had all the games loaded on it. And so my family had one of those, and I remember loving Dig Dug. I loved that game. Like, you start doing, you figure out how you could get around and like catch them all with one rock, and then, you know, like all the cool stuff. So I love that game. I loved beer. Sorry, we got to bring in another beer here. Beer me.
Brew me.
Don't be so brewed, Scott. Damn. But I just remember that. Super Mario, just the OG original. Always loved that. Sega Genesis. Let's throw it back to the video game that came with it.
Sonic.
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter came with the Genesis?
No, not Street Fighter.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
See, I just screwed up there.
Right?
It's Streets of Rage is what I'm talking about.
Streets of Rage.
You ever played Streets of Rage? You know what's up. Where you're trying to get as far as you can. I was always the one. I played with my stepdad. I was always the one that was like dying, and he's like trying to carry me along, and he's like, you can't just go running in there, you know, and you're young, and you're like, I'm just gonna go in there, mess some shit up, and it's like, no, it doesn't work. So exactly, every old man as you age, you're like, no, I'm gonna lay back.
Child, let me teach you some strategy, please.
It's not the guy that goes running in there, it's the guy that holds back and is like, you come at me, you're gonna regret it.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is just kind of the softening of society.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. But a couple of things have come up that...
I hope y'all heard that. I really hope y'all heard that.
But a couple of things came up, and just in what we've been discussing so far. Like, Beavis and Butthead was referenced. I mean, I had that written down on my little notepad here. Like, I sit down, and I'm looking at my kids, right? And I'm watching this stuff they're watching on YouTube, right? And if you're my age or not, or if you just have kids that are like what I call YouTube age, you're sitting there like, this is crazy. This stuff is stupid. What are these kids doing? How are they going to make it? I'm like, let me show you some of the stuff when I was a kid. All right, so we look up like Beavis and Butthead. I'm like, you got to watch.
Man says.
You got to watch Beavis and Butthead because I'm doing like Cornholio references.
Oh yeah,
you know, and stuff like that. And they're like,
Cornholio.
I need
tippy for my ball. Oh yeah, I used to do that all the time.
You know, so I'm doing that, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. They don't know what I'm talking about, and they look at it and they're like, Dad, that's dumb. I'm like, what do you mean that's dumb? I'm like, that's all right. I said the stuff you watch every day is dumb.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder if it's just me, right? Because I sat back and I'm like, you know, I like to think I kind of turned out okay. And I had plenty of Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy and, you know, all kinds of stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. But the kids these guys are following, I mean, oh my gosh, millions and millions of followers on YouTube.
Oh yeah. We will soon be joining them. Stay tuned.
We're going to go from 343 to 342. Like immediately. It's going to happen.
Wait.
It is going to happen. But, I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, like, I look at Looney Tunes.
Okay. Love it.
Looney Tunes isn't around anymore. Used to, I mean, when we were growing up, I don't know what they had. They had malls in Oklahoma, or was it just like flea markets and stuff?
Wow.
Huh?
Just like anyone on Oklahoma right now, like if you're watching this on YouTube or something, just please
And
like
just
say
straight up,
something
I
to
mean,
Scott.
like I'm a Yankee, right? You
like,
know,
damn, man.
I grew up north of Dallas, but not quite Yankee, Oklahoma, like straight up New York Yankee. Okay.
Okay.
So I remember growing up at these things called malls that used to exist. For some of you that may or may not remember them, they had the Warner Brothers store.
yeah, a lot of
right?
people know what a mall is.
Remember that? Do they still?
Yes.
But okay, I know there's still a few of them, but yeah, the Warner Brothers store, right? It had all the Looney Tunes stuff. I mean, it was great. I mean, even Six Flags still has those characters, but I think a lot of these kids go in there, they don't know what that is.
Majority, correct.
Right? And I look at Looney Tunes, and I'm like, wow, I kind of somewhat understand why that's not as popular as it once was, because everything that's kind of been going on culturally and within our society stems from Looney Tunes. I mean,
So the question is, though, just from like straight up looking at a business standpoint, like did they not pivot when they needed to pivot? Because look at Disney World and Disneyland. They still have all their stuff. Kids love going there.
yeah,
Parents
but it
take
was.
them.
But I believe, and I'm open to any challenge on that. I think Disney was always fairly clean, at least on the surface. I mean,
They tried to be, but then you had Little
Yeah,
Mermaid
but
come
it-
out with all the penises in the background.
They didn't have the violence. They didn't have all the innuendos.
I mean, you got to realize.
Well, they hid some things in there. That's now as you come out to an adult and you're like,
Yeah, but it's not even like Shrek.
They were like
Shrek had innuendos.
oh yeah,
Shrek you could enjoy as a parent, you could enjoy as a
which
kid.
is the goal. Yeah, they want you
That's
to be able
the
to
win.
laugh. The kids laugh because the adults laugh and they have no idea why they're
Right.
laughing. And
But
you're like,
let's talk Looney Tunes, right? I mean, because I think it's really relevant. Like Yosemite Sam, gun violence, gun control,
okay,
right? Pepe Le Pew, sexual harassment. Elmer Fudd, making fun of people with disabilities,
okay,
right? And the list goes on and on. I mean, I think that's part of why this isn't relevant or out there as much anymore.
okay.
Everything. Look at Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote,
oh, please. Monopoly.
right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right?
Oh, for sure. You would offend so many people to have stuff like that. People would be so hurt in the.
I know. Let's take it a step further. Smurfs.
I tried to come up with a term there.
Smurfs.
Smurf it up.
One girl Smurf. Lots of other Smurfs. One girl Smurf.
I mean, you already know.
Something's
you know
gotta
where,
happen.
You know where everyone's head went on that one.
Something's got to happen,
Oh my gosh.
right? Tom and Jerry, animal abuse.
Right. Yeah, but they did it to
Right.
each other.
I mean, it's kind of like Care Bear society. Like everybody's got to have a little thing on their belly and be all happy, except the one that's sad, and then nobody likes him anyway. Mm-hmm. Right?
I mean, what you're talking about is the exact reason why we started this podcast, because
It is.
You share your opinions like in some like back bar while you're sitting there with your friends and you're like a bunch of candy ass kids running around and all that stuff. But if you share that out loud with anyone,
yeah, it's just one
it's
of those.
offensive.
Well, it can be. I mean, I'm not trying to push this as an offensive topic per se. You know, I've kind of coined it as societal castration. You know, and I think we've gotten to the point where we've just gotten so numb. You can't do anything wrong. You can't think anything weird or odd. You know, things that we would normally find humorous. Like I don't know if you've ever listened to George Carlin, and he's been dead many years now. Maybe not many. I don't know if it's double digits yet. I don't think so. But his content's still incredibly relevant today. Mm-hmm. Like if you listen to him today, you'd think the dude was still alive and knew exactly what was going on. I don't know that things have really changed.
Well, and that's things tend to repeat themselves, and we have cycles. It's just I completely agree. I can't say I completely. I agree with what you're saying. I get it from the standpoint of the stuff that drives me nuts is like I want to be tolerated by driving intolerance towards you. So if you're the one that's considered normal, if you're the one that fits within all the parameters of whatever the hell that means, then I'm going to push that you respect me while I am completely disrespectful and intolerant of whatever it is that you want to push. I think it's the same thing from like the standpoint of religion or your what you want to pick for what your sexuality is or whatever your gender is. It's like if I share an opinion on that or if I say anything, like, you know, that's why some of the people I think that are out there get a lot of attention, because there's a guy that's on YouTube that's like, there are two genders, prove me wrong, and he interviews people and they have to be able to talk. And it's people just, they're sheep. They just go along with what's going on in society. They don't have a legitimate opinion about anything. They can't legitimately put together an intelligent, you know, sentence to even cover, well, I believe this and I stand for this. And it's like, I get it. I believe that there are still things out there where there are areas where we have inequality, where there are people who are still racist. I think there are things like that out there. I understand that. It's and I don't know, maybe I'm going way too deep into like that side of it, but I think a lot of that stuff plays into it. I think it's all these things of like, we're afraid to say stuff because I'm going to do something and that's going to offend you.
Right.
And then I'm worried about what you're going to think about me. See, this is something that I'm working on all the time of like, I'm just going to start sharing what I feel is real. And then if it upsets you, then hopefully you'll just unsubscribe yourself out of my life, and that's okay.
It's not just that. I mean, you just need, you know, everybody kind of needs to take a double dose of I don't give a fuck.
And it's true.
Like, don't worry about what everybody else is thinking. Be you, do you. And those that are supposed to be around you will gravitate towards you, and they'll be there.
100%.
You don't got to impress everybody. And I know
100%.
Society right now is trying to make that happen, and it's.
Well, and I
think it's wrong.
I know we talk about this, like, we're Gary Vee fans, and that's one of the things that he pushes is the fact that people are unhappy because they work or do what they're supposed to do in society so that they can buy stuff to impress people that they don't even like.
But some people aren't even doing it. They're leasing stuff to impress people that they don't even like. They're going into debt for it.
You're doing all this ridiculous stuff, and like, what does that matter? Like you,
and then you get evil eye.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you get those people that wish bad things upon you because you're taking action and you're doing and you're trying to make it.
100%, and that's, man, this is like a topic that I just feel like we've kind of like went down the rabbit hole here because I 100% agree.
Are you ready to go down to the basement? Because I've got more.
No, we can go there because this is we were talking about like what I worry about with like my daughter and with my family. Like this is the stuff that I worry about too with a child that's just a little over a year old. What's the world going to be like that she grows up in? And what am I going to do to try to make sure I shape and mold her
so check this out, right?
Not give a shit.
Let's go with another controversial topic so we have a real hard time figuring out what to name this episode, right?
Love it.
Gun control.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Gun control, right? So we're seeing right now, again, societally, that kids are doing stupid stuff. They're grabbing a gun. They're going to a school. They're shooting it up, and like really bad shit happens. You've got shooters that walk into churches. I mean, there's really bad shit, right? And then they get on the news, and you know, win, lose, or draw, we all as a society lose, right? But then I got to take a look, right? It's like, oh, guns are bad, right? George Carlin would say, you know what? Guns don't kill people. Bullets kill people. Ban bullets. Let them have all the guns they want, right? Mm-hmm. I could agree with that. But again, I look at my children and I take a step deeper. We, for the first time, put a gun in our kid's hand, not loaded, no bullets or anything. And the first thing she did was pointed it at another person. And we're like, no. You know, and that's part of gun education. You've got to go through that.
You don't point this at anything that you don't plan on killing. Like I was raised hunting, and you had to respect.
But now let's take a look at, again, let's look at society, right? First real game that came with a gun. We already talked about it. Duck hunt.
Yep.
Right? And now what's happened since? So nobody in the media, nothing, because I don't think there's any political angle on it, has come and said, hey, these video games are training this behavior of kill. They come home, they sit there, and they play games that are shoot 'em up. When I was a kid, it was like Wolfenstein 3D, Duke Nukem, right? But now even like Halo, all this stuff that's out there, it's all you come in, and it's like almost this like subconscious military training of you got to come in, you got to shoot 'em up. It's strategy that they're getting so developed in this mindset. And then when these things happen in the news, everybody's surprised. Oh my God, how could this happen?
Yeah, but I think this goes into a deeper topic. So you really
do it. Bring
up
it.
A can of worms.
Let's go.
Now. So I think this goes into
worms.
Yeah, this goes into something I would call like cognitive dissonance. It's literally where you're just separating yourself from shit.
Are you doctoring me now?
No, I'm
Cognitive
totally
dissonance?
not.
Okay.
It's where you just remove yourself from consequences, essentially. You remove yourself from certain things and you just don't even think about that, because the problem is when we're in an everyone gets a medal society, nobody understands the consequences of what a loss feels like. Nobody understands the consequences of when you screw up. Nobody understands the consequences
So let me
of
ask
when you
this.
fail.
So let me ask. So let's take that, because I'm a big proponent of this with the everyone gets a medal ordeal, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that goes along with what you were talking about.
it does. So let's just talk about it, because changing it requires an incredible mindset, right? You've got a very young daughter.
Yes.
Okay. So as you raise her, how do you bring her through that situation of everyone gets a medal? Because whether she's playing soccer or basketball or baseball or softball or whatever it is in those spaces, and I know a couple, I'm going to hold back for a second. Are you willing to put your kid in sports where everyone doesn't get a medal? Are you willing to tell the coach that if the kids don't win, no trophies?
So this is a fun one. So, God, first of all, I'm going to give bonus points to anyone who can tell me how many times I've said so. The thing
From
is,
this
for
point,
me,
up till now or from here on?
just whenever, like, you could do it. It's I
I'm gonna
worked
have
on
to-
replacing ums, and now I put that in there so I could be like, so.
How many points? 'Cause I might have to go back and rewatch this a couple of times.
Oh my
just
gosh,
to make
get
sure
out
I
of
get
here!
them.
Get out of here!
Just one.
When it comes to
so.
my daughter, here's my biggest struggle is that I want to protect her from anything bad that could happen, but I also have to have the realistic expectations that life is going to happen, things are going to happen, and she's going to have to experience those things. She's going to have to experience this, even just from a standpoint of like now, she's going to have to experience falling and hitting her head on the coffee table and understanding that when she's goofing around and doing stuff like that, those things can happen. She's going to have to experience that when she goes and plays on a team and that team's just not as good as the other teams, they're going to lose. I struggle with it because I'm like, man, she's my first child and I'm new at this and this is stuff that I'm always going through. But I want to make sure that she understands that. So I try to do that all the time. Of like,
So what's your plan?
my plan is to just constantly adjust as we're going through this and allow her to be able to experience all of those things. I think those experiences are what make you a human being. I think
they
going
do.
through that stuff, because I went through that. I went through the day and age where when we lost, like my school sucked. We lost at everything and I hated losing.
Is that an Oklahoma thing?
No.
Okay.
You ever heard of the Oklahoma Sooners mofo?
Is it just
Even
your-
though I hate them,
is it just your
I don't
school?
like them. They are pretty much always ranked in the top 5 in,
Were you on every team in your school?
college football. Was I on every team? No. I only played football and basketball. It's fine, though. It's fine. You can keep dissing Oklahoma. I can't wait for people. Will you crucify Scott, please? If you were watching this and you're all about Oklahoma, like, just rip him apart, please.
I'm okay with that. I could live with it.
But it's one of those things
Can
that
you?
I'm constantly working on because, I had good examples for me. Like the older you get, the more you realize your parents always had the best outlook for you. You were just dumb at the time and didn't realize it. Is how I look back on a lot of things. That doesn't mean they did everything perfect, but for me, I want to set her up where she's allowed to experience those things, and I have to be willing to let that happen. My biggest struggle right now is actually letting that stuff happen. Like, I can damn near hover over her nowadays of like, don't do that, don't bump into that, don't grab that thing, don't do this. Like,
But
or
you can helicopter.
yeah. And that's to be honest, as a parent, that's my biggest struggle. And I think it's what you're talking about is stuff that's not fixed like that. It's things that are fixed one person after one person with
So in my opinion, I got 2 girls as well.
yeah.
Right? Well, not as well. I have 2. My job is to teach them how to learn and how to protect themselves. Because I know I'm not always going to be there. Unfortunately, just like your friend that had 9 children, you're not always going to be there. So how do you prepare them to do that, right? So I'll give you a for instance, and I'll take my youngest daughter as an example. She plays hard. Sports, everything. When she puts it in, it's 120%.
Is she the dancer?
She's the dancer.
Okay.
But every single time. She also plays soccer. First year of soccer, man, that kid would fall left and right and be down and crying. And we'd sit there on the sideline and be like, get up, keep running. And they would. You know, and I've seen others where it's like, you know, that the kid gets hurt. I need a tissue. I need a tissue, Daddy. I need a tissue. And they put it on the arm, and then it's better. But they'll carry on that they need that tissue because they've been conditioned to learn that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I set out early on for my daughters, just like you said, you want to be able to protect her from everything, but you know you're not always going to be there. You want her to know what failure's like, but also know what winning's like, right? So one of the things we did early on is we enrolled both of our kids in karate. Karate could be a team sport, but karate is also an independent sport. If you don't win your bout, you don't win. You don't go home with a trophy. And we've had instances where they did. We've had instances where there are two kids in the division. They're both getting an award no matter what. One kid screwed up. My daughter won, got this trophy twice as tall as she was. I was pissed. She didn't earn it, right? She didn't really deserve it. You know, she got lucky because the other kid had an issue, and some of you will say, well, that's just how sports sometimes go. Mm-hmm. So we got to the point with all the competitions and everything, tons and tons of these crap plastic trophies all over the place. And we told and I spoke to one of the karate instructors, and I said, how do you do this? This is ridiculous, you know? And one of them gave me some very sage advice. I'll share it with you and everybody else. Let your kids only keep one trophy. They've got to determine which one is most important to them, right? And it's going to give you a gauge of how your kid's emotional intelligence is progressing, right? Because if it's like the super big one, you know they're just interested in, I got the big one. But when it's that second or third place that they busted their ass for, and they got it, and they're like, you know, Daddy, this is the one I want to keep. And I say, why? And they're like, well, I got my butt beat, and I worked really hard, and I'm glad I got that. That changes everything. And, you know, it's like, I don't know how many people could kind of even relate with that at this point. We obviously all want the best for our children, right? But I got to somehow prepare them to be the best.
And that's the thing, is you have to determine what is the best. Like, what is that for them? I think the first thing for me is that I'm already aware that I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm not going to be able to, whatever thing that I have in my mind that I would love to achieve for her is probably not going to happen, and I'm human, and I'm going to fall short of that. But my goal is to always empower her in those moments. We're very careful about the things that we say and speak to her. I want those things to be powerful so that she knows. Like, there's certain things I say to her. There's something I say to her every night. Like, I want her to know those things because I want her to feel empowered by that. That way, when BS comes at her, she knows better because of the way that she was brought up. Like, you can come at me like she's BS proof at that point when it comes to that standpoint. But I get what you're saying of it's tough when they're plugged in within this society of like, what do you do when you're having to play somebody else's game and you're a piece within that? You don't necessarily have full control of that situation.
Right. Absolutely right. How are we doing on time?
It's up to you, but
It's up to me. Cool.
Yeah, we're 45.
So you want to lighten things up a little bit?
Yeah,
You
we
wanna
can
do
lighten
some,
things up a little bit.
you wanna-
I feel like that's a topic that could go into multiple times.
And I think we should repeatedly bring it up and see what
Yeah.
other people's opinions are as we have guests on the show.
I was about to say, that's a good one to bring and like talk to guests about because people get fired up about that stuff. So it's one of those,
Yeah.
I like it. So we'll now lighten up the mood a little bit. Scott's about to ask me 20 questions, 23 questions, I think, as a matter of fact, because he apparently thinks he has some that I won't answer. I'm going to go ahead and lighten it up just by learning a little bit more about Scott here. So, Scott, what's something that you would consider yourself fanatical about? Like, you damn near get to the point of annoying, and like you almost feel like I'm almost a little embarrassed of that, but it's just one of those things that I care so much about, and so I kind of, it's your area of escapism is kind of what I call it. Like, you're willing to just go into that, and then it's like, I don't necessarily always tell people about that.
I don't necessarily tell everybody about it.
I was about to say, you of all people is like, I don't care.
I'm not shy. I mean, you're going to know me for me. I am fanatical about cars and automobiles and business. You know, and I think and most of you already know me about the business side of things. Some of you do, and some of you don't know about me on the car side. I mean, I've been all up and about cars since I was a young kid. I mean, like, favorite toy as a kid was like Hot Wheels, and even back then, me and my brother were sitting there and we were sanding them things down and trying to paint them up and make them custom and unique. And it's
You're a Mopar or a Ford guy?
I'm a Chevy guy.
Chevy?
Yeah, but I like them all. I've owned them all. I mean, I love cars. I mean, it's an art. Fun fact you might not know about me: I've owned over 130 cars.
Wow.
Yep, and that's been from buying, selling, flipping, restoring, enjoying, all the way through. One of my companies, we make parts for 91 to 96 Caprice and 94 to 96 Impala SS. And we've got we've got an incredible following. My shop car that we've been building is a 94 Caprice wagon that's slammed out on air ride from my guys at Classy House Productions. They did a killer job on it. And
can you tell he's fanatical?
I've got issues, man. I've got issues.
I'm going to shoot some video for you.
I would love you to, because the car is absolutely freaking stunning. And once we get it lettered up with all my etches stuff on it, I mean, it's going to be visible from freaking everywhere.
Gosh, I love it.
But that's it. I mean, and I'll tell you what. I mean, it was kind of funny how it got going. When we first moved to Texas, one of my best friends, his name is Jeff Hadlock, I met him. He came to look at a car I had for sale. It was the second car I bought while I was down in Texas.
Okay.
And he didn't end up buying it because he was a smart guy. They're not all good. And we ran into each other like a year and a half later at a tint shop of all places, reconnected and been like super close best buds ever since. But through all that, I mean, after we bought our first house, I had another friend, Billy Parker. He had a 95 Firebird Formula. And he's like, Scott, I got to get rid of this car. And I'm like, well, I think if we part it out, we'll get more money out of it than you would just selling it. And he's like, well, how much do you think we could get? And I'm like, man, I bet we get 10, 12 grand out of that car. I go, what are you looking for? He's like, I want to get like $4,500. I'm like, well, look, let me part it out. The eBay was fresh. Craigslist wasn't out yet. I mean, this was like early on. And pulled that car into the garage, stripped that sucker down. The deal we cut was he got $4,500 and half of whatever I got on anything above and beyond. And we clocked 12 grand on that car. My neighbors, it was the most awesome neighborhood, man. We were in Blockhouse Creek down in Leander, Texas. I was like, well, I was the white guy. We had a Mexican guy next door. We had a black guy a couple of houses down. And they were all busting on me. They come down and like, what's up, Chop Shop? How's it going? You know, because I'd always have something out. I get letters from the homeowners association. There was a tire in the driveway or, some goofy stuff. But after that one went, then we did another one. And my wife was like, enough is enough. Because I was taking money out of the house to do it. And then I was using money we made from parting the cars to build my own cars. So it was like, it kind of got into this real cynical, vindictive cycle.
I can already tell we've hit fanatical. Like
so much to the point. Me and a couple of buddies rented a shop just around the corner from the house. This big, 2,000 square foot shop with a side yard. Damn. And again, hustling. And it got to the point where we wanted to have the shop, so we had a place to work on our cars. And we wanted to hustle enough through so that we wouldn't have to take money out of our own pockets to work on the cars. So it was just a constant, and like Craigslist just came out. And like the most amazing deal that I ever had come through, I picked up a 1988 Pontiac Firebird V6. Junk car. Like the burgundy with the gray. It was like the Hot Wheels car with the orange and black stripe on it. It was horrible. It was a 120,000 mile car, but it ran well. And this guy calls and he's like, hey, are you interested in trading? I got a vehicle that doesn't run. I want to get a car for my kid. It's his first car. I think the Firebird would be good. I go, what kind of car you got? 66 Ford Bronco. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then we got into Broncos. And then we got into Blazers and Jimmys. And I mean, it just spun out of control. We were buying, think back, for you car folks out there, we were buying IROCs off of Craigslist for $1,200 and flipping them in parts for $6,500 legally with titles and everything.
This guy over here sounds like a drug dealer of cars. He's like, yeah, it was just one of those things. I started out with this,
shit
and
happened,
we escalated
man.
to this.
Hey, there's that gray area.
I'm just listening to talk about it. He's like,
you know what we call Firebird formulas? The gateway car.
Yeah, see, that's what he sounds like to me. I'm like, damn, you want to talk about getting I love it too because that's completely factual. Of like I could hear how fanatical you got. Of like, damn man, like I don't even go that much into it.
So tell me yours so that I could get to your 20 questions. Not that I'm not interested in what you have to say.
No.
Because I would like to hear it.
I want to make sure
it came from somewhere.
I want to make sure we hit the 20 questions, and I've got one question.
Let's hear your story.
I got one question too. So for me, there's the problem that I have is when I get into something, like I really dive into it. So I've had that happen with a few things. But you want to talk about things that I get pretty fanatical about? I'm a big time Dallas Cowboys fan. That's not because I moved down here. I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan my whole life. That's how I was raised. In
Oklahoma.
Yeah. Dude, that's the closest thing we got. Oklahoma has nothing.
So does most Oklahomans or Oklahomians,
for sure.
or whatever they call them, they all root for the Cowboys?
It's why they're big time about, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State for college football because that's really all we have. And OU is kind of the team that puts us on the map. And so until we got the Oklahoma City Thunder for basketball, we never really had anything professionally. And so
Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bama, Auburn.
It's just how you look at that. So for us, it's just how my parents always were. So, as a kid, I had the Dallas Cowboys starter jacket. I bought one this year for Christmas because I was like, man, feeling that little nostalgic throwback.
It's like I've got 10 years on you, and I don't remember starter even being that relevant that long.
Oh.
Like, was it? Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, starter jackets were where it was at, man. Are you kidding me?
I guess we
big
just
ass metal starter symbol and all that stuff. Like,
you know what I'm starting to realize? Like, I think we got it first in New York, and then it just kind of facilitated through the rest of the country. Maybe that's what do you think? Right? You're from Philly, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you think that's what happened? Like, we got it first,
Probably.
and then by the time he hit,
They worked up there and they disseminated.
by the time he was 10, it wasn't even the leftovers. It was just like starter was about to go out of business, so like we better hit the other states real quick before we pop.
They disseminated. That's a better word.
Right? Disseminating.
so when
They inseminated Oklahoma.
I'll get these
with
guys back
starter
on point.
jackets.
Oh my gosh, get these guys out of here. So, Cowboys football for me, and now my wife's parents down here in Dallas, they are obsessed. They love them, and so it's kind of a big deal for me. We get super excited. My daughter, when she was born, we bought her a jersey. It's the whole thing. Like, I'm very serious about my Cowboys football. My wife is like, she just does it because I do, but I'm very big into that. For anyone who knows me, CrossFit is another big one. Like, I love the competing and watching these guys do it. Like, I don't do it so much myself anymore, like to that level, but I love watching it. A couple of other ones that I wrote down was like The Walking Dead was another one for me. Like, I'm pretty big time.
Never
into
watched
that.
it.
Super committed to that. Like, at this point, I'm already in. Like, you've got me in. I'm just gonna keep watching until this thing's over. Like, you got to ride it into the ground, essentially.
You got to watch business shows like Breaking Bad.
Oh, Breaking Bad is one of my favorite. No, it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Mine too.
100%. They're getting ready to have a movie coming out on Netflix and AMC with
So
Aaron
you know
Paul.
what? You know what? Now I've got 22 questions.
Perfect. I'm sure that you do.
All right.
No, so that's for me. Those are just some things like I just love the aspect of like people getting hella fanatical about stuff, and it's like, oh, you want to see somebody get intense and like dive into something. Which, by the way, I like your business and marketing. Like for me, those are another one for me that I'm fascinated by it.
Always learning.
All right, let me get my head.
Take a deep breath. Take a swig. Let's get this done.
I gotta open myself to just like these are supposed to be like rapid fire, guys. So I'm trying to make sure I don't overthink it. I'm an overthinker sometimes. I'm just like
the first thing that comes to your mind.
He's gonna throw something in there that he's gonna try to get me rolling, and then I'm gonna say something. I already know this guy.
All right, you ready?
Sure.
First car. These are rapid fire questions.
Was a 1988 Chevy Cheyenne.
All right, at least you had a truck. That's kind of cool.
Extended cab long bed.
That's very Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, that baby was a boat.
All right, favorite color.
Man, I can't even pick. I'll just say green.
Green. Color of money. You call it soda, pop, or Coke?
Pop.
Interesting. I wonder if that's a Midwest thing. Huh?
It's an Oklahoma thing. I will call it soda on occasion, but more pop.
Okay. You like beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Wings or legs?
Wings.
Legs or breasts?
Breasts.
Nice.
Just ask my wife. Oh!
Bada bing. Google or Yahoo?
Google.
All right. Beer or wine?
Beer.
Favorite beer?
Favorite beer. Shiner.
Shiner.
What?
Oh, for sure.
He's from Oklahoma. It's cool, man.
Listen, if I'm just going to pick a basic go-to, all right, I get it. Listen, I'm in here with some connoisseurs. We'll bring Jose on sometime. He'll tell you all he knows about beer.
All right. Next one. Age you lost your virginity.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, okay, let's just learn a lot about me here.
Next question.
No, I was 15.
Okay. Longest Facebook video duration.
Ooh, the longest Facebook video duration that I've ever had. Mm-hmm. It would probably have to be one of my more recent 3D episodes. You guys should check those out over on my Facebook page. Just cheap plug here. Probably like 22 minutes, I bet. Something like that on one of those.
I was going to say the answer was longer.
That's exactly right. No, well, he was going to kind of roll all the way through.
Actually, I've done some Facebook Lives with people that have probably gone like close to half an hour to 40 minutes.
All right. Next question. Who's inspired you the most in your life?
Who's inspired me the most in my life? My dad.
Okay. Ever jump out of a plane?
No.
How many bones have you broken?
One.
Which one?
I broke my wrist, so technically,
Wrist?
yeah. Playing football, pervert.
In the locker room or on the field?
On the field. 8th grade.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, these two.
All right.
Guys, help me, please.
Are you a witch doctor?
No.
How do you explain it?
How do I explain what?
Your magic.
My magic? It's that if you have a nervous system problem going on, I'm going to light you up, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to fix it. Well, your body's going to fix it. I'm just going to remove the interference.
Right on. Okay, next
It's all
question.
about your nervous system, baby. Anybody that knows me knows that it's about that.
Next question.
That's what makes it feel magic.
Next question. Talking about magic.
Don't get me fanatical on on my work, man.
Ready? Favorite porn store?
Damn, that come out of nowhere.
Good answer.
God.
I know there's so many. You can go male or female. I mean, whatever you like.
Male or female. I saw a guy that was on a podcast called Johnny Sins, and he created that name. I thought it was funny.
Was it corn dog porn, or how did all this work?
I mean, most of those guys are, so yeah, I'm sure.
All right, we'll let you slide on that one.
I'm guessing that was one of my three
Unless
questions.
you want to go with Johnny
Yeah.
Sins. All right. Ever have your mouth washed out with lava soap?
I don't think so.
That means you were a good boy. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Good man. Ever been arrested?
Yes.
For?
Theft.
Nice. Anything good, or was it like...
No, it was
Pack of
dumb.
gum or some
No, it was
bullshit?
dumb. It was a Gatorade when I was young. We used to steal from the... First of all, my mom worked at the courthouse and my dad was a sheriff in town, so
So you thought you
I'm
could
an
get away
idiot.
with it?
No, we would just steal stuff from the local gas station, and so I was sitting there with some of my friends, broke, and there was a stack of Gatorades behind me, and so my dumb ass reached back and just took one and started drinking it. Like, they can't tell that there's one missing back here.
What flavor?
Melon, probably. I don't know.
Melon. Okay.
Who knows?
Favorite toy growing up?
Favorite toy growing up? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man.
TMNT. There you go. And last question. Truth or dare?
Oh my gosh. Should I give you guys a dare on here? I don't know what this a-hole's going to say.
I just wanted to know if you would select truth or dare. Not necessarily.
I'm normally a dare person.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
I don't mind. No, I thought you were going to give me a truth or dare to close it. I'm like, oh, what's he going to
No,
make
I
me
just
do?
wanted to like get you all buzzed out. Like, oh shit.
Oh my gosh.
I know,
this
very
guy.
anticlimactic, right?
Listen. So we're going to close this out with my favorite question. I literally posted this on my Facebook today, and I thought it was hilarious. I know now that people are out there literally trying to do this to impersonate it. I want to know, for you and for anyone that's listening, how do you eat your taco?
At the table.
Right? But how do you do it? Which way do you tilt your head when you eat your taco? I should be more specific. Which way do you tilt your head when you eat your taco?
To the left.
To the left. Are you right-handed?
I am.
Makes sense.
Why does it make sense?
Because what happens is I'm left-handed. I tilt my head to the right because I hold that bad boy in my left hand. Jose, what about you?
How big of a bad boy? So
But for a
Jose,
taco, you got to turn sideways, man.
Jose just goes head on, just deep throat.
Yeah.
I just straight
Jose goes straight corn dog style, like just, you know.
It's like just how 2 hands, and however he's got to get it in his mouth. I mean, that's it.
But I had so many people comment. It was funny. So then I followed up, and I'm like, depending on the head tilt that they would tell me, I'm like, are you right-handed or left-handed to see? And some people are just weird. I'm like, how do you do that if you're this? But for the most part, what I've seen is depending on which is your hand that you write with is the way that you're going to tilt your head for your taco eating.
Interesting.
You know, for those, I mean, there might be times that you're not eating tacos at the table. I get that. That's a different story. I mean,
well, look, we got to wrap it up. Can you believe the time flew already?
Was that like the question that you were asking me earlier? Like, did I wrap it up? Is that what you're...
No, we're done with the questions. We're done. I'm getting like the big crosshair X over there.
Yeah, we got to wrap this
like,
thing
it's
up.
time to kill it, boys.
All right, man. You said you were going to have a good closing statement this week. You said next week I'll have something better.
Oh, shit.
Yep. So here we go. Scott's going to give you his closing line. I'm going to give you mine, and we out. Go for it, Scott.
So we want to let you guys all know, if you're interested in coming on the show and checking this out and hanging out with us, we'd be more than happy to have you. The only requirement is that you're a business owner and you can hang with us. Enjoyed it. Loved it. Can't wait to see you next week. What you got there, Dr. Double B?
I'm Dr. Brandon Brown, and I approve this message.
Peace.
Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.